Welcome to your virtual CFO coach. I'm your host, Leah Torbert, founder and CEO of Harrington Strategic Partners. I've spent my entire career working in the startup world, scaling businesses to multi-7 and 8 figures. I built this podcast to share all of that knowledge with you and make your path to success shorter and easier. Tune in each week as I cover topics including financial analysis, cash flow management, holistic strategy, mindset, and more. Now for today's episode.
Hey everyone, thanks for popping into the podcast today. As a fellow CEO, I understand how difficult it can be to carve out time in your busy schedules. In today's episode, I'm going to ask you to set aside time for one key activity, strategic thinking time. Before you tell me you don't have any more time, hear me out. As a CEO, you're bombarded with an endless stream of decisions, some so small you might not even realize you're making them, and others so big that they could change the course of your business, all in a day's work. And over time, you'll start to experience what they call decision fatigue. This is where you're operating with impaired judgment, increasing your potential to act impulsively, hindering your long-term success. So I'm sure you've felt this before, like at the end of a long week when you're just wishing for a soak in the hot tub and you get that call on Friday at 6 p.m. with the next emergency. It's all you can do to focus and try to get through it. Then you're working over the weekend to fix the problem and you don't get the rest that you need to start all over for the next week. Then there's the sheer amount of information that you're expected to consume. Market reports, industry trends, sales data, financials, updates from meetings, employee feedback. All of these are competing for your time and using up precious mental processing power. And you're constantly juggling shifting priorities, working hard to balance short-term objectives with your long-term vision, and it feels like there's just never enough of you to go around. And the crazy thing is this is the default pattern for a lot of CEOs. So going back to that time issue, before you can comfortably commit to blocking out time for strategic thinking, and we'll talk about why you need to do this in a little bit, you've got to actually get some things off your plate first. So let's talk about the big D, delegation. You don't need to be the one doing all the things, and you absolutely shouldn't be. There's a concept called the Eisenhower matrix. It's a process where you sort your tasks into 4 categories. Category number 1 is urgent and important. These are tasks that you need to do. They have clear deadlines and significant impacts if they aren't handled correctly. And the emphasis here is that you actually need to do them. You're the best one with the best skill set to get them done. The second category is urgent and not important. These are tasks that you delegate. Your expertise isn't needed for these, but they do need to be completed. So you need to get them handed off to someone else so that they can be taken care of in a timely manner. The third category is not urgent and important. These are tasks that don't have a deadline yet, but will help you achieve your long-term goals, and they're tasks that you are best suited to do. So these tasks you schedule so that you don't lose track of them and you're not worrying about trying to remember them, and you can get them on your calendar to do later. And the fourth category is not urgent and not important. These are tasks that you should just remove from your list altogether, because if they're neither urgent nor important, they bring no value to you or your business, so you shouldn't even bother trying to do them. Once you've run through this process, it's easy to start setting priorities. Number 1, you focus on the urgent and important tasks. Those are the ones that only you can do, that have deadlines that need to get done immediately. Number 2, delegate the urgent and not important tasks. These are the tasks, again, that need to get done, but you're not the one that needs to get them done. Number 3, schedule the not urgent and important tasks. So these are tasks that you need to do, but they don't have to be done right now, so you can get them on your calendar to deal with later. And then number 4, happily cross off the not urgent and not important tasks from your list. Just give yourself that momentary feel of dopamine as you're crossing the thing off your list and just feel good about letting it go. Once you've done this, then you can take this one step further and start time blocking your calendar. So I use Outlook for my calendar, but this works with other calendar apps as well. So I have preset categories for different types of work like admin, business development, content creation, and education. Everything on my calendar is color coded. So when I look at my calendar, I can tell at a glance what it is that I need to be focusing on, what part of my brain I'm going to be using, and what things that I'm going to need in my environment to help me focus. One of those things for me is music. So I tend to pick different types of music for different types of work. If I am doing some really serious deep thought work, if I'm working on writing a podcast episode, or I'm doing some strategic planning, or I'm working on my budget, stuff like that, I will pick a playlist that doesn't have words. So I'll either look at a techno playlist, or I've been listening to this one lately that is an epic film score playlist. So it helps set the mood for what I need to be thinking about and the mindset that I need to be in. And it helps block out noises in the environment without being too distracting on its own. And then there's other times where I need to just sit and be able to knock something out, and I need to really have some motivating music in the background. And these can be more administrative tasks where my brain isn't quite as focused on what I'm working on. And so I might have some heavy metal or something like that playing in the background so that I can just get that music pumping and just plow through the list that needs to get done. However you work on that, that's up to you, but it works really well for me. And then the last piece that you need to create time for strategic thinking, this one's the hardest. And that's why that it's a key piece of my decisive CEO mindset process that I teach my clients. It's setting boundaries and then actually enforcing them. You have to be accountable to the boundaries that you set for yourself and hold others accountable as well to protect your time. None of the work you've done up to this point to clean up your to-do list and control your schedule makes a bit of difference if you don't draw a line in the sand and say this is non-negotiable. When someone sends you a text message or you get an email and it's the next big emergency, you have to stop yourself from that gut reaction of just, okay, I'm going to drop everything. I'm going to handle it because this is what I need to do. You need to go back to that Eisenhower matrix, assess it really quick. Is it really something that you need to do, or is it something you can delegate to someone else? Or maybe this isn't quite the problem that it seems to be, but everybody's really emotional about it, and so it's getting more attention than it needs to. So you can evaluate that and figure out which bucket it needs to go into before you break those boundaries that you've set for yourself. Now, I've spent the last few minutes talking about how to make time for strategic thinking, but you may still be wondering why it's worth the effort to do so in the first place. So to truly have control of your time, you have to let go and embrace some key mindset shifts. You need to shift from reactive to proactive thinking. It's natural to fall into the habit of reacting to those immediate challenges, staying in constant crisis mode. Prioritizing time for strategic thinking shifts you from reactive to proactive thinking. You're anticipating challenges and opportunities. You're planning ahead of time on how you're going to handle them. And then you're incorporating techniques into your cultivated success blueprint, which we'll talk about here in a minute, so you can stay ahead of the curve and position your business for sustainable growth. You also need to shift from operational to strategic leadership. Remember the Eisenhower matrix? One of its goals is to help you focus on the things only a CEO should be doing, instead of getting involved in the weeds of the daily operations. Once you delegate operational responsibilities to trusted team members, this frees you up to focus on setting the long-term strategic vision of your business, identifying growth opportunities, and aligning your resources to achieve your goals. You also need to shift from perfectionism to iterative learning. As a CEO, you place a huge pressure on yourself to have all the answers and never miss a step, but this just isn't possible. If you're too focused on being perfect, you'll end up not making decisions because you don't trust yourself with the answers, or waiting until it's too late to take advantage of an opportunity or avoid a huge problem. When you prioritize strategic thinking, you begin to understand that iterative learning and experimentation can yield much greater results over time. Opening yourself up to feedback, adapting to changing circumstances, and learning from your successes and failures will make you a better CEO and cultivate a focus on innovation and continuous improvement in your business. As you embrace strategic thinking, your role as a CEO changes. It frees you from being involved in the 24/7 grind of running your business so you can focus on what you are best suited to do and empower others in your business to handle the rest. This is part of what I teach in my cash flow ignition methodology. Strategic thinking impacts all three pillars. Most of what we've discussed today is working on what I call your decisive CEO mindset, helping you make the shift in how you approach your role as CEO and what you want to accomplish with your business. Next, we take your vision and priorities and apply them to your current operations using the cohesive cash flow system. Through this process, we align your vision and operations to focus on generating predictable cash flow and prepare your business for long-term sustainability. And the last piece is your cultivated success blueprint, which I mentioned earlier. It's your personal roadmap to achieving long-term sustainability in your business and living your best life at the same time. No more sacrificing one for the other, feeling torn between your business and your life. The cultivated success blueprint weaves the two together, so you have the tools and resources necessary to achieve your dreams. You can learn more about the Cash Flow Ignition method by accessing the 5-episode miniseries that I created today. Just click on the link in the show notes to learn how the Cash Flow Ignition methodology can transform how you see yourself as a CEO and scale your business for long-term success.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please share with your network and leave a review so our podcast can reach more women and have a greater impact. If you have any comments or additional topics you'd like discussed on the show, let me know. Before you go, connect with me on LinkedIn and let's keep the conversation going.